Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. Welcome, colleagues. Hendrix community from near and far. How good it is to be here today. Would you join with me as we center our hearts and minds? O source and center of life, we gather at this high point of the campus and the area in a moment in time to remember one whose vision and leadership raised up lives, raised up the community, and will continue to do so for years to come. While we are to gather here, in the beauty and wonder of this morning, at the center of Hendrix College, in the presence of this generous and fitting gift, draw us closer to one another, and especially draw us closer to the essence of John Churchill as we remember and savor stories, reflect on their meaning, and envision the life he showed us and left with us to carry on in the world you have given us to love and to share. In the name of all that is holy and true, amen.
Good morning. My name is Jack Frost. I'm a that's my name, and I was a longtime friend of the Churchills, and that includes the children as well, but also a colleague here at Hendrix for some 35 years, I suppose. My job is to talk a little bit about John outside the context of the campus, and to say something about the Plaza itself. John and Jean Churchill were dear friends of ours, almost from the day they arrived on campus carrying their months-old son. That was August of '77. Sarah and I had just returned to the college the year before. Some of our mutual social group Big Creek friends are here with us today. That's a reference to an annual Ozark retreat beginning in the fall of 1988, where some dozen families, including the Churchills, of course, would spend a long weekend. We went spelunking in the Lost Silver Mine. We played in the Manure Bowl. We forded the creek, danced the gator on the cabin veranda, and learned how to do the full and the half hunker. Terms John coined, and I'm sure one of these days will make it into Webster's. You get the picture. We all know John, his academic bona fides, but there was this other side of John that we wanted to share with you. We treasured it at Big Creek, of course. It is where around the campfire he would regale us with masterful storytelling and point out the mythical creatures in the stars. We love John and Jean. So when Skip Rutherford, John's brother-in-law, called me to talk about doing something on the Hendrix campus to memorialize John, I was on board. Skip exclaimed, "You know, John was a part of a number of fine institutions, but Hendrix is clearly where his heart was." Frequently, when Skip and Billy would come to visit John and Jean here in Conway, John would pull Skip aside and say, "Let's go for a stroll on campus." Skip related how, like a well-trained docent, John would point out specific trees and buildings and relate their histories. Who was president when this building was built? Who planted that tree? In whose honor was it planted? And why was it put there? John knew all the answers. As we were brainstorming for ideas of how to celebrate and memorialize John, I mentioned this tree on campus, and I have forgotten what it is. Can somebody tell me what kind of tree that is? Poplar? A sycamore. Thank you, Larry. It's another Churchill in with the information just in the nick of time. So I said about this poplar tree on Tabor Top that was planted in John's honor in 2020. When we got to this spot, we knew immediately that this was the place for some kind of memorial. It looks out over the core of the campus, and in some ways serves as a crossroads, a cross paths, if you will, of the campus. It called for a plaza of some sort, where students and faculty could sit and watch the activity between classes. And we know it would be a spot where two or more would gather in true Churchillian manner to deliberate on a dense tone or a classroom discussion they had just left. So here we are. The presence of the sycamore tree called for a circular plaza. Melanie Siegel, class of 1985, designed the plaza and provided a critical eye as we continued to work on the plaza and bring it to where it is now. Will Lentz, class of 2012, designed, constructed, and installed these unique benches. We were fortunate to employ a master stonemason in Eric Wills. You will be heartened to know, I believe, that these rocks, these flat rocks, came from Scranton, Arkansas, which is about 30 miles as a crow flies from Hector, John's boyhood home. And get this, the river rock came out of the Arkansas River in Colorado. How appropriate. We're grateful to Melanie, Will, and Eric for all that they have done to bring our vision to such a beautiful realization. We're indebted to Nate Cowden, Director of Operations for the Hendrix Facilities Department. He accommodated us at every turn in the process. Jenny McMurray, you're here somewhere, I know, and her staff in the development office helped publicize the project and handled all of the back office work of communicating, nay, soliciting the Hendrix community and other friends of the Churchills. Which reminds me, there are two other important parts of what we're calling the Churchill Project: establishing the John and Jean Memorial Scholarship, a collection of John's writings, articles, speeches, and recordings. Thanks to Britt Ann Murphy, director of the library, she's agreed to archive that collection, and it's available for our view today. Finally, I want to thank you. Your contributions to the Churchill Project have made all of this possible. You know, you are at home on the Hendrix campus now. I trust you will make many pilgrimages to this site and either reminisce or share your stories of John with family and friends. Welcome.
Good morning. Pleased to add my welcome. I'm Ellis Arnold, president of Hendrix College and member of the class of 1979. We really are honored to be here today to celebrate our colleague, our friend, and our mentor, Dr. John Churchill, and to dedicate this beautiful space on campus. As Jack said, the Churchill Memorial Plaza, in memory of John and for his love and his enduring mission, love of our mission of this college. You know, Jack had his particular task this morning to talk about some of the history and personal relationships and friendships in this community, you know, and about this plaza. I have the difficult task of just speaking about John from an institutional perspective, which I'll confess it was difficult for me to craft, because my life and my experiences with John, both personal and professional, are so intertwined with personal memories and stories, and I'm sure you can relate. I mean, I sincerely doubt that there is a person among us today who doesn't have a Churchill story. And when you tell that story, I'm sure it brings a smile to your face. In the late 1970s, I had the privilege of being one of John's very first students here when he was a freshman faculty member. I emphasize I was one of his first, not one of his best. And then in the 1990s, I had the privilege of working with John as a colleague, as a member of our senior leadership team here, and we worked side by side for years, serving the mission of this college in more meetings than I care to recall. And perhaps most important to me were the trips we made around the state together, particularly when John was serving as acting president on a couple of occasions. From John's first day on campus as a freshman faculty member until his last day at Hendrix, it was obvious to everyone who encountered him that he was a philosopher. But in addition to living a life of the mind, John had the ability to relate to and connect with people regardless of their station in life. I witnessed firsthand the ease and the pleasure that he found in talking with a farmer in South Arkansas or a business executive in Manhattan. He found joy in every moment. Every person he encountered was important to him, and it was because of that trait that he was able to lead the academic program at Hendrix with such enthusiasm, passion, and success. As one former faculty member shared with me, he was a riveting lecturer, a true visionary, an intellectual giant, and he always possessed the common touch. As we all know, John was passionate about many things, but nothing more than academic excellence and his love of Hendrix. And although he wasn't a graduate of Hendrix, he connected with the mission of this institution in such a powerful way, serving as professor, acting president, and dean. It was never a job, though, for John. It was who he was. And more than anyone, he recognized and appreciated what a remarkable college Hendrix was. He wanted the world to know what a special place Hendrix is and how bright and talented our students are. It was his dream for Hendrix to shelter a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa, and for over a decade he worked tirelessly to that end. And thanks to John's efforts and that of others, Hendrix remains the only private college in the state to shelter a chapter of Phi Beta Kappa and enjoy that privilege. As president, I am honored each year to welcome the newest inductees into the Hendrix chapter of Phi Beta Kappa, and each year I take that opportunity to share John's legacy with the latest inductees. And now, with this beautiful space that we dedicate today, we will continue to share his legacy with future generations of Hendrix students. I know that John would be honored and humbled by this recognition, and I think he would be particularly pleased at this location in the heart of the campus that he loves so dearly. The historical significance of this location would not be lost on John. He was an enthusiastic student of our history as an institution. He had an encyclopedic knowledge of our founding leaders and the early challenges and triumphs in guiding Hendrix to where it is today. I recall returning from a trip in Northwest Arkansas with John one time, and we decided at the last moment to take a detour at the Altus exit. We drove to the site of the original campus and eventually found the plaque denoting Hendrix founding there in 1876. And while that plaque captured the basic information, John, of course, then elaborated for the next 15 minutes on details about the location, the families of the founders, and much more. It was vintage John. And of course, he did not miss the opportunity to also tell me about the significance and specifics of several nearby trees. So it's fitting that we gather here at this location this morning, Tabor Top. Where we now stand was the site of Tabor Hall, one of the very first buildings on the Hendrix College campus in 1890. And in 1890, this was considered the highest point in Conway. While Conway and our campus have changed over the years, our purpose and mission have not. Throughout our nearly 150-year history, there have been a handful of individuals whose mark on this campus is enduring and had an indelible impression on both the people and the place that we call Hendrix. John Churchill was a legend and but one of a few who we owe our eternal gratitude. I'm thrilled for the years that for years to come, the Churchill Memorial Plaza will be a reminder of John and his legacy to this college and for his love of Hendrix College. At this time, I'd like to invite a special guest, Dr. Peter Quimby, who traveled in to be here with us today to say a few words. Dr. Quimby was recently elected as president of Phi Beta Kappa Society in 2021. Dr. Quimby.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here today to honor the memory of a dear friend, beloved colleague, and devoted servant of both Hendrix College and Phi Beta Kappa. I bring you greetings from Fred Lawrence, the current secretary and CEO of Phi Beta Kappa and John's successor in that role. Were Fred not in Paris on sabbatical this fall, he would most certainly be with us here this morning. This is my second time on the Hendrix campus, my first visit coinciding with the wonderful service celebrating John's remarkable life. I'm delighted that on this return visit, I can be here to celebrate the cementing of John's legacy at an institution that meant so much to him. Of course, John's impact on the world of higher education was felt well beyond the Hendrix campus limits. His role as secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society gave him a platform to champion and defend the values of an education grounded in the liberal arts and sciences, a charge he took up with remarkable eloquence, boundless enthusiasm, and his ever-present wit. John was a scholar to his core. Words mattered to him. I thought this morning I might pay tribute to John by reflecting on some of John's words, some words about John, and some words John heard. First, John's words. In the first column that John wrote in the Society's quarterly publication, The Key Reporter, John wrote eloquently about the importance of deliberative democracy in our lives, our institutions, and our society, as well as about the surprisingly complex structure of Phi Beta Kappa, an organization that is today comprised of 293 chapters, one of which resides at Hendrix College, as John was always proud to proclaim, 50 alumni associations, and the national office. In the winter issue in 2002, he wrote, "My hope in taking office as secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society is to maintain and even improve the context of that deliberation, to assist all of our constituencies in maneuvering the complexities of our governance, and above all, to heighten the influence of Phi Beta Kappa and our ideals in the public life of this country and the world, both within academe and in the broader culture. I am also conscious that these historical gavels of Phi Beta Kappa that are used at Senate meetings are not mine to wield. The Secretary's implement is the pen. I will use it." And use it he did. As Secretary, he wrote and spoke widely in support of the liberal arts. John expanded the reach of Phi Beta Kappa and served with distinction as the head of the National Humanities Alliance twice, and launched the National Arts and Sciences Initiative, a project that continues to rally members to action in support of the Society's values, both in our nation capital and in state houses across the country. 15 years later, in his final column in the spring 2016 issue of The Key Reporter, he set out his motivation for his highly successful secretaryship, but also for those secretaries who both came before him, dating back to 1883, and for those who succeeded him. He wrote, "We who have been the heads of this organization over the decades or centuries are motivated to write and speak in support of the arts and sciences because Phi Beta Kappa has a unique responsibility toward the core disciplines and values that animate American higher education." On the very next page in that same issue of The Key Reporter was a member spotlight featuring Cornel West. And Dr. West offered a perfect follow-on to the words shared by John. He wrote, "None of us alone can save the nation or the world, but each of us can make a positive difference if we commit ourselves to doing so." John's positive difference was felt throughout the land, but also inside our national headquarters at 1606 New Hampshire Avenue in Washington, D.C. Those of us who had the pleasure of working with and serving alongside John will never forget his singular gift for mixing humor and philosophy, erudition and warmth, nor will we ever forget his infectious laugh. John defied stereotype. He was an Oxford and Yale-trained philosopher who proudly held a blue ribbon for his pickled okra. He filled the Phi Beta Kappa Society with his thoughts and wisdom, and he played a crucial role in transitioning the society to its current headquarters, just as he began his term as secretary in the winter of 2001 into 2002. It was there, at 1606 New Hampshire Avenue, that John left his mark on the society, and just as significantly, on his colleagues. When he retired, here is the tribute that his colleagues wrote to him. The team at 1606 New Hampshire proudly and affectionately recognizes John Churchill, Secretary of the Phi Beta Kappa Society, as an inspirational and kind leader, a pillar of Phi Beta Kappa knowledge and lore, an accomplished storyteller and poet, elocutionist extraordinaire. Of Wittgenstein quotes in particular, in German no less, a serious Nats fan, beloved friend of nature, except for squirrels, and a true Southern gentleman. Your exemplary dedication to the highest ideals of the liberal arts and sciences, breadth of knowledge, critical inquiry, and the pursuit of wisdom is greatly appreciated by all of your staff. Finally, let me close with some words that John heard. These from his beloved Wittgenstein in Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus. Death is not an event in life. We do not live to experience death. If we take eternity to mean not infinite temporal duration, but timelessness, then eternal life belongs to those who live in the present. Our life has no end in the way in which our visual field has no limits. I read the citation that the Phi Beta Kappa staff presented to John when he retired, but I omitted the final words. You will be missed, but never forgotten. The John Churchill Memorial Plaza makes good on that promise.
Whoops. Good morning. I think I know most everyone here, but in case not, I'm Will Churchill. I'm John and Jean's son, and I'm here today with several members of my family, my wife Emily and our daughters, my sister Mary Catherine and her family, Hugh and his family, our Uncle Larry and Sandy Churchill, and the queen of our hearts, our beloved Aunt Betty. Hello, sweetheart. The people I've just mentioned are all teachers. And since we're here today to honor someone who is emblematic of academic scholarship, I feel obligated to disclose to you that you're being spoken to now by the least formally educated person in that man's family. But importantly, I am a proud graduate of Hendrix College, and so this task fell to me today, and it is an absolute honor to have the opportunity to express on behalf of our whole family how humbled and grateful we are to have this beautiful space dedicated as the John Churchill Memorial Plaza. As I mentioned, I am a Hendrix alum, while my siblings elected to have their academic experience at other colleges. But I know that it is equally meaningful for all of us to have our dad honored in this place that he loved and that we love. The source of that affection is that of the sons and daughter of a place. Because it's no stretch to say, as I'm sure is the case with many children of faculty and staff here, that we were not only raised at Hendrix, but raised by Hendrix and by this incredible community. Nothing influenced the rhythms of our early lives as much as what was going on on this campus at any given moment. And it became nothing short of a portal to a wider world of ideas, arts, culture, and curiosity. We attended picnics, we came to concerts and art shows, we attended plays, we heard readings from famous authors, we learned to swim, we watched Coach Garrison's great Warriors basketball teams, we rubbed shoulders with the Japanese Zen master, we whiled away dozens of hours in the sublime confines of the old Bailey Library, we caught hundreds of toads, and over the course of countless Sundays after church, I think we collectively consumed several tons of broccoli, fried shrimp, baked potatoes, ice cream, and Jell-O. Some knowing chuckles out there. So Hendrix College has absolutely nourished us in mind, body, and spirit from our earliest days, and it fills us with immense joy and gratitude to have our dad's legacy honored here. I want to say just a few thank yous to some specific groups of people, starting with the professionals and craftspeople who designed and installed this beautiful space. When you dedicate a project like this to an individual, it's wonderful when you're able to capture something of that person's spirit. And to Melanie, Will, and Eric, you absolutely nailed it. There was a dual nature at work in John Churchill. He was well known for his exuberance and his love of lively conversation on just about any topic. And if he had learned something that he thought was interesting, he felt absolutely compelled to share it with you. Not as a means to impress, but because knowing things gave him joy. And he wanted to share some of that joy with you. And I know that this is a place where much joy will be shared. A lesser known aspect, perhaps, reflected in this plaza is that my dad was a person who deeply understood the value of solitude. Whether he was at home on his perch reading and writing, or neck deep in the waters of the Illinois Bayou, he could often be found doing quiet, reflective work. And it's not hard to imagine a student stopping here on her way to class. Perhaps she spent a long night filling her mind with information and can now stop here and spend a moment to empty it and to prepare to put her full person to the task. I know firsthand that this is also a great spot to listen to the barred owls and the tree frogs and the cicadas. And it's probably not a bad place to watch the sunrise. A space that provides that kind of sanctuary would have been a favorite of Dr. Churchill. So to Melanie, Will, and Eric, and your teams, and to the staff here at Hendrix who made this project possible, thank you for an outstanding job. Secondly, another group I want to thank is the entire faculty and staff of Hendrix College, past and present. And as absurd as that may sound, if there's one thing I ever understood about the job my dad did here, it was how much he loved the opportunity to work and build and struggle with so many brilliant people in the service of this institution and of the liberal arts. As many personal accolades as he garnered in the course of his life, nothing could compare in importance to the colleagues, friends, mentors, and mentees that he interacted with here at Hendrix. He absolutely loved being with you. His fidelity to the group was evident to me as a younger person, and one of the things I've enjoyed most about the lead up to this event is thinking about how uncomfortable this personal honor would have made him were he here to receive it in person. I think we all liked a little bit to watch him squirm. But I know he would want to share this honor with everyone who helped him be who he was and to become who he was. So thank you. Next, I want to say a special thank you to three people, and really to three couples who have been instrumental, not only in this project, but in the lives of my parents, Ellis and Kim, Jack and Sarah, Billy and Skip. You have been the closest of colleagues, the closest of friends, and the closest of family. and some of you by choice. You've taught us about integrity, about kindness, friendship, leadership, and about the importance of doing what's right when it's time to do what's right. So thank you for a lifetime of those lessons, and thank you for this day. Last, I want to say a thank you to two extraordinary people who had more to do with making John who he was, Betty and Larry. There's so much I could say, and I will simply keep it at, we love you. And if any of you here today want to experience a little bit of John Churchill, just go and talk to them. Thank you so much.
Well, wouldn't you agree that the purpose of the Plaza has already begun to be fulfilled? How special to be here for this moment. We invite you to continue sharing and fellowshipping with one another, moving between here and the Murphy Building for a reception to follow. For now, go in peace.